Facebook and then put this back again. All right, guys. I'm really very sorry that there was a break in transmission. It's not something we were expecting. It just happened suddenly. So I'm really very sorry about that. When Brachaka was talking, there was a loss in the audio. Audio wasn't coming through from my end any longer, and at a point in time, I couldn't get the audio from his own end also again. But I'm so grateful that we're back now, so we can go live now. All right. So again, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that there was a little glitch, but now we're back again. So, Brachaka, again, I also want to apologize to you. Sorry about that little glitch right there. There was a loss of audio when you were talking. In fact, at a point in time, people couldn't hear you, and then at a point in time, people couldn't hear me as well again. So I don't know what actually happened in between at that point in time. But then we're back again. So even if we're going to be doing this for just a few minutes now, but then we'll be able to do something, okay? What it means is that we're still going to dedicate another time for this. We need to talk about this. I mean, we really, really need to discuss this, okay? So, Brachaka, again, you are welcome back to the program. So, again, within some few minutes, let's just continue. You can continue from where you stopped, and then we will just we'll take it up from there.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, Corredo, for having me. So we are talking about chapter 33. We have said that according to the witnesses of Aisha, Umar bin Khattab, and other Sahabas, that this chapter we have lost about 127 verses or so from it, and therefore we can only talk about that which has survived.
Yeah.
And I also began by looking at chapter 38 and verse 21, which particularly says that Muhammad in an example to humanity from his days to the very last day.
Yeah.
And so again, we also read chapter 33 and verse 37. Chapter 33 and verse 37, basically, which talked about Said, this young man called Said. Now, people used to call him Said bin Muhammad because he was a slave. And sometime before Muhammad declared himself a prophet in the year 610,
Yeah.
he freed. And I'm just having a shorter version of this, that Said was a prisoner of war before the days of Islam in the period of Jahiliyyah. And then Muhammad purchased him. That is according to Jalalaini, the two Jalals. He purchased him before the call of prophethood, and then gave him freedom, and he adopted him as his son.
Yeah.
Having adopted him as his son, then he was called Said bin Muhammad.
Yeah.
Though his biological father was Aritha, but because Muhammad had actually given him freedom, therefore people referred to him as Said bin Muhammad. That is how it was known. Now, in the early days of Islam, in Muhammad wanting to present Islam as something that we really could see people as the same level. In other words, the slaves and those people that were slaves, the noble people, as the same. And therefore, Muhammad betrothed him to his first cousin, that is Zainab binti Jash. And so Zaid married this noble Qurayshi woman, although he used to be a slave, and now he is a son of Muhammad by adoption, and eventually he marries this first cousin of Muhammad. And therefore, in that way, Islam could be presented as a good thing, as a one that is able to raise the status of a slave to a noble man, and even get married to a very noble. And this was something that culturally was acceptable. When you when you adopted a son, this son had every privilege as the rest of your children. And knowing that Muhammad at this point did not have, you know, had the privilege of having sons, according to the Sunni version of it, he had a son, Qasim, who passed on at a very early age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't really have any other son apart from later on after Khadija has died. Then he will be having another son through the slave, the Christian slave girl Maria Captia,
Yeah.
who will give him a son called
Mm-hmm.
Ibrahim, but that would be much later on in Medina. And so at this period, every person calls this young man Zaid bin Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is said that one day Muhammad went to visit him,
Hmm.
and he went to visit him, and
Yeah.
he did not find the young man at home.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly take you through some of the tafsirs of the Quran on what they say on this verse.
Okay.
It says, after some time, Said complained to the Prophet regarding what he had suffered with Zainab. The Prophet came to them and admonished him. And when he talked to her, it developed likeness for the beauty, the countenance, and wit uh, um, for this woman.
Hmm.
You see, in other words, when he came home and Zaid was not there, and he fell in love with this lady. It was before the days of the veiling, the woman veiling herself, the hijab,
Yeah.
before the ayah of hijab, the command of the hijab for women came.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, according to some tafsir, she was lightly dressed.
Yeah.
And when Muhammad looked at her, he looked at her with admiration, and this admiration entered into his heart.
Yeah.
Now, according to Islamic sources, one of the privileges of Muhammad is that if he looks at a woman, if he looks at your wife and, and actually falls in love with your wife, it is your obligation then as a Muslim to actually abandon this woman, to divorce this woman for him. And therefore, Said goes and tells his dad, Dad, I want to divorce my wife.
Okay.
And Muhammad is like, no, 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 no. Keep your wife, keep your wife.
Hmm.
But eventually things go the way they went, and now uh, Zaid divorces this woman, and right after Zaid divorces this lady, Muhammad goes ahead and marries her.
Hmm.
And now, when Muhammad marries this woman, there began to have rumors, people, meeting in groups, azab, meeting in groups, in clans, and
Hmm.
talking. Have you heard what the prophet did? Have you heard what the man of God did? He
Hmm.
has just married the divorced, wife of his son.
Hmm.
And therefore, now Muhammad comes up with this so called revelation. In other words, now Allah is admonishing his prophet and is telling him, why did you hide in your heart that which Allah wanted to reveal?
That's
And what
interesting.
is it that Allah wanted to reveal? That I have commanded you, O Muhammad, to marry this woman once Side has finished his desire with her.
Hmm.
Now, for me, this verse is very disturbing.
It is problematic, really.
One, problematic. For one, that a woman is something you can use, and once you used it, you can actually go ahead and divorce her.
Hmm.
And that is what the verse says, that when Said had finished his desire,
Yeah.
that that you can actually just take a woman, use her for your own desire, and once you've used her for your own desires, you go ahead and move on into the next woman. So basically, that is what Islam is teaching.
Exactly.
But again, the verse is telling us that Allah actually commanded Muhammad to marry this lady once Said has divorced him. In other words, at the time of the command, she was still the wife of Zaid.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, leave alone, even if we leave the fact that this was an adopted son, the fact that at the point when Allah is giving this command, she is the wife.
Exactly.
What does that tell us?
Hmm.
That Allah can actually bring you somebody else's wife
Exactly.
and make
Exactly.
you desire and long for her and plan for a divorce. Now, in Malachi chapter 3 and verse 14, the Bible tells us that divorce is something that Yahweh, that Jehovah hates.
That's true.
But Allah seems to actually arrange for it. He makes his prophet fall in love
Mm-hmm.
for a woman that is actually already married. And then now, after the events, he comes to accuse his prophet. Why did you fear people? You should have feared me.
Yeah. That's
And so
interesting.
because of this, Aisha tells us that Zainab used to boast that it's actually Allah that you know arranged this marriage from the seventh heaven. For me, for me, this gives me trouble. Now, when people began to say, why has the prophet done this?
Mm-hmm.
Why is the man of God doing this?
Yeah.
Do you know what it says?
Mm.
It says in chapter 33, read for me verse 40, if you
Chap
can.
that's
If,
chapter 3 verse 40, right?
yes,
Excuse me. I
it's
want to
actually on slide 16, if you can find
Okay,
it.
16. All right,
Yes.
great. Okay, so I've just gotten to 33 verse 40 now. I'm going to display that on
Yeah.
the screen so people can get to see it as well. All right, so this is Quran chapter 33 verse 40. Muhammad is not the father. That's the verse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he says, Muhammad is not the father of any man among you, but he is
Mm-hmm.
the messenger of God and the last, that's the end of the prophet. And God is ever all aware of everything. Quran chapter 3, verse 40.
Now, I want you to notice something.
Yeah,
The Quran says, Man kana Muhammad, Muhammad is not a father to any of your men, min rajulun, any of your men.
yeah,
So it's not just talking about, when, for example, when the Quran says, Ya you al mu'mina, ya you al Madina amanu, or you who believe, it's talking about Muslims in general. But
that's
this
true.
one is saying, Muhammad is not a father of any among your men.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
In Rajulun, it's talking about men, and
yeah,
in this particular, is referring to Muhammad. In other words, you should no longer say Zaid bin Muhammad
exactly.
is not my son.
Mm-hmm,
Muhammad is not a father to any of your men,
yeah,
but he says that he is the messenger of God.
mm-hmm,
Is the messenger of God,
mm-hmm,
and Wakataman Nabihin, and he is the last of the prophets,
mm,
or the seal of the prophets.
mm-hmm,
In other words, he is not my son. You cannot say that Zaid is my son. So he's just defending himself. In other words, he's going against the Arab culture of looking at Zaid as his own son and saying, you know what, even if I have married his divorced wife, it is
exactly,
because I am not the father.
exactly. That's
Now, this verse,
ridiculous.
again, according to some scholars,
Yeah.
there is another recitation of this verse,
Mm-hmm.
and we will get there. But besides this, now Muhammad continues to say something. Can you read for me verse 4, and if you could find verse 4 and 5?
Yes, I'm going to read that down. It's on the screen already. So,
Okay.
verse 4, that's Quran chapter 3, verse 33, verse 4 and 5. It says, God has not assigned to any man two hearts within his breast, nor has he made your wives when you divorce, saying, Be as my mother's back. Truly, your mother, neither has he made your adopted son your son in fact. That is your own saying, the words of your mouth. But God speaks the truth and guides on the way. Call them after their true father. That is more equitable in the sight of God. If you know not who their father were, then they were your brothers in religion and your client. There is no fault in you if you make mistakes, but only in what your heart premeditate. God is all forgiving, all compassionate. Quran chapter 33, verse 4 and 5.
Correct. It's very amazing. What is he forgiving? What is he compassionate about? Well, he is actually the one that has allowed this man to marry, the wife of his adopted son, a
Exactly.
divorcee of his adopted son.
Exactly. What
So
is
it
Muhammad's
says
what is Muhammad's fault in there? I mean, he's the one that told Muhammad to do it.
exactly. So the Quran is saying God has not assigned any of you two hearts. In other words, I cannot love Abdullah and Fatima and the other one the way I love Zaid. I don't have two hearts. I only
Exactly.
have one heart in my breast.
Okay,
You
folks.
know?
But Chaka, before you continue, let me just highlight
Yeah.
this a bit, just so folks get what we're talking about. Now, you've made mention of the Arab culture. The Arab culture actually allow a man to have an adopted son, meaning a man can actually adopt a son according to the Arab culture. This is something that is known within the time of Muhammad. Now, because of the fact that Muhammad wanted to marry the wife of his adopted son, because at this point in time, Zaid is the adopted son of Muhammad, and Zaid, according to the narration you brought for us so far, he so much loved Muhammad that he does not even want to be released. You understand? He wants to remain, he wants to remain like a slave forever. He wants to serve Muhammad forever, which is actually understandable. Okay. Now, so why that is going on, at a point in time, according to the narration that you brought to us, at a point in time, Muhammad went to see Zahid, but Zahid was not at home. All right, so he saw the wife of Zahid, which happens to be Zainab. Zainab was half dressed, according to some narration, and then when Muhammad saw that, he felt towards her. He has a feeling towards her. Now, this is a man of God, and I can understand. He's a man of God. He's a human being, so that is understandable. Muhammad is a human being. It is understandable. But then when he begin to have that thought, that feeling for the woman, what do you expect as a person? What I expect as a person, as a pious person, as a person of understanding, is that okay? I'm going to take my hand out of this. This is not my wife. This is the wife of my adopted son. So I'm not even going to think about it. But what happened is this: Muhammad was thinking about this and he was troubled. Then at a point in time, a revelation came. Allah, before Allah even brought up the revelation, Allah was telling Muhammad, hey, Muhammad, I know that this is what you're thinking. You're thinking, you wanted to marry this person, but you're thinking of what people are going to be saying, that if you marry her now, people are going to be saying, hey, Muhammad, why did you marry the wife of your adopted son? You're thinking about that. And then Allah went ahead to give a revelation, trying to sanction what Muhammad was thinking in his heart, that Muhammad, don't worry, it's okay. You can marry the wife of your adopted son. It's okay. Don't worry about that. If they're asking you about, if anybody is trying to poke nose into this matter, if they're asking you about this whole issue, let them know that it is me that has actually sanctioned this. I'm the one that has given you this revelation. Okay, so the revelation came, and Muhammad told the people, you see, it's Allah that's actually sanctioned. It's not as if I actually wanted to do this, but Allah actually brought it as a revelation. And anything that comes as a revelation, as a wahi from Allah to the Ummah we accept. So far, Muhammad is the one saying that is coming from Allah, the Ummah we accept. So that was how the revelation came. And Zahid, who is actually the husband, said, okay, he's no longer interested in this, in this woman and all of that. The prophet can have her and all of that. And that was how the prophet had the woman. And interestingly, the narration you also brought forth, the woman was like, hey, my marriage is not like the marriage of any one of you, My marriage was actually, it was sanctioned by Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah was the one that sanctioned my marriage. He's the one that arranged it. Okay, so just you guys, sometimes you want to begin to feel like you are unique than me. No, Allah is the one that is the one that arranged my marriage.
Married
Exactly.
seven
So, folks, I want you to, the reason why I'm breaking this down further is because I want you to understand further, because Brachaka has given us a lot of sources, and if care is not taken, some of you, the sources is so overwhelming to you, and you'll be like, where do I start from? What is going on right here? All right, so I have to bring it down further so you get to understand what we're talking about. Okay, so at the end of the day, Muhammad married the wife of his adopted son. Okay, and then Allah revealed the revelation. And then Allah is now saying that He's all forgiving, all merciful. And then Brachaka is asking, what is the forgiveness in this? Allah is the one that asked Muhammad to do this. Muhammad did not want to do it because he knew that people are going to talk about it. Yeah, Brachaka, you're trying to say something, please.
Now, the very end of verse, 33, 5 and 6, it
Okay.
says this: if you do not know their fathers, call them your brothers. They are your
Exactly.
brothers. In other words, don't say that Zainab is my Zaid is my son. Don't call him that bin Muhammad. He is
Exactly.
actually a brother in the deen, in the religion.
Mm.
This is not my son.
Kai.
So you see, call them by their true fathers,
So
by the name, by Ubini. Call them by the name of their fathers. And it says that is more equitable to Allah, in the sight of Allah.
yeah.
And if you do not know their fathers,
Mm-hmm.
then they are your brothers. In
Or
other
your
words, the
clients.
whole issue of adoption, Allah is actually saying it is nonsense. It's not there.
So what
But
happened?
remember what he said in verse 37.
Yeah.
He said, the reason that I'm
Yeah,
married to
Brachaka.
you is so that it will not be difficult for Muslims who want to marry the divorcees of their
Exactly.
sons. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, Brachaka, you know why this is very problematic? You know why it
Mm-hmm.
is very problematic? Now, Allah changes the history. Allah changes the narratives. Allah changes the tradition of the Arabs just to suit Muhammad. That's actually what is going on right here. Now, when Allah changes the narration or changes the tradition of the Arab to suit Muhammad, ever since that time till now, we have not found any Arab doing this. I mean, okay, maybe I do not know about it, but then how many Arab have we had so far marrying the wife of his adopted son? Do you understand? And this is really very critical, because what this actually shows is that Allah was bent on satisfying Muhammad's desire. This is what is going on right here. Because if we have a tradition of the Arabs that says that, hey, you can adopt a son, and of course, if you're adopting a son, if you're going to marry that same son again, marry the wife of the same son, is like an abomination. All right, it's an abomination. It's not something that is acceptable. Now, for Muhammad to be able to marry that woman, something had to happen. There had to be an
Now,
abolish. Yeah,
Brother Korede,
yeah.
point me to slide number 21 on the screen, please.
Okay, so slide number 21.
Yes.
Okay, so right now we have slide number 21. So I'm going to put that on the screen right now. Do you want me to read that for you?
Yes. Yes. I want you to read it. Go
Okay.
ahead and put it on the screen too, also for our listeners and followers.
All right, great. So I'm going to read that now. That is actually from the Jami at Timirdi. Yeah. Timirdi. All right. So let me put that on the screen so that we can get it to read together. Okay, so it says narrated. Excuse me, just want to be sure that everyone's reading this. All right, great. It's on the screen right now. It says, narrated Ibn Umar, we called Zaid bin Arita nothing but Zaid bin Muhammad until the Quran was revealed, ordering, call them by their fathers. That is just according to Allah. As Quran chapter 33, verse 50. And this narration is actually graded to be Sahih. Okay, that's the narration from at Trimidi. Then there's another narration again. Do you want me to read the second one?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. So this is also from the Jamri. Okay, so it also says again, it says narrated Ibn Umar. We called Zaid bin Arita. Oh, I think it's the same narration, but it's the narration is the same thing, but it was actually narrated twice. So we have it as Mutawatir now.
In volume 5 and in volume 1.
Exactly.
Now, you can actually find this narration in Bukhari and in Muslim too.
Okay.
So, in other words, this young man was actually known as Zaid bin Muhammad.
That's
That
true.
was what was known, and it was not a fact that was hidden.
That's true.
So, until that time, Muhammad now says that, don't call him Zaid bin Muhammad anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because Zaid has actually chosen to be the son of Muhammad. If you go to slide 25, if you can go to slide 25,
Okay, so
that is Sahih Bukhari, and
okay,
you can show that again. Uh, Sahih Bukhari, volume 6, hadith number 16.
okay.
Said refused to be emancipated by his family,
Mm-hmm.
and he chose instead to remain with Muhammad as
Mm.
as a slave, and therefore Muhammad actually made him his son.
Yeah.
In other words, he gave him a better standard. So
Yeah.
narrated Abdullah ibn Umar, we used not to call Zaid bin Haritha the freed slave of Allah's messenger, except Zaid bin Muhammad, until the Quranic verse was revealed. Now,
Yeah.
this verse basically now forbids Muslims from calling him Said bin Muhammad. Now, go to 26,
Okay, that's slide 26, right?
slide 26, yes.
Okay,
And now we
so
get to another part where we realize there is actually a missing part of Muhammad's father.
okay, the missing part of Muhammad's fatherhood. Yes.
Yes. So this is very funny. Go on to the next slide.
Okay, yeah, we're there right now.
And you can read it.
Do you want me to? Okay, great. So I'm going to read this now. And it says, the late Muslim translator Abdullah Yusuf Ali records that Ubay bin Ka'b had an additional statement in his reading of Quran chapter 33 verse 6. The Uthmani text presently reads that the Prophet is closer to the believer than their own selves, and his wives are their mothers. Yet Ubay bin Ka'b's codex read, the Prophet is closer to the believer than their own self, and he is the father to them, and his wives are their mothers. Hence, Yusuf Ali states, in spiritual relationship, the Prophet is entitled to be more respect and consideration than the blood relations. The believer should follow him rather than their own fathers or mothers or brothers where there is conflict of duties. He is even more nearer, closer to our real interest than our own self. In some qira'at, like that of Ubay bin Ka'b, occurs also the words, and he is the father to them, which implies a spiritual
Just
relationship.
stop there. We won't read the rest of it.
Okay, great.
It's on the screen for those who want to follow the whole. Now, I want to give you, Brother Correde, a summary of what we've just read.
Yeah.
In this verse 5 and 6, the Quran says Muhammad is closer to you.
Yeah.
You should love him, more than even you love yourself,
That's
more than
true.
you love your own soul.
That's true.
And he is now, according to Ibn Kabi, says there was this verse, and he is a father to them. But the present Quran does not
Does not
say
have
that.
that. Yeah.
And he says that his wives are your mothers. Now, why is this important? Why is the Quran says, and his wives are your mothers? Now, let's go according to the Arab's Quran, which does not state the issue of father. So, his wives are now Umul Muminun, are the wives of, are the mothers of the believers.
Yeah.
But Muhammad, remember verse 40, what he says. Muhammad is not a father of any of your men.
That's
So
a
Muhammad is
problem.
not a father.
Yeah.
His wives are our mothers. How do we see that? What is the reason why the Quran says that Muhammad is not a father, yet on the other hand, he says that his wives are our mothers? It is because, let me give you a summary of what happened.
Yeah.
Remember, Muhammad had a very young wife called Aisha.
Yeah.
She was only 6 when, at the time Muhammad married him. She was only 9 when Muhammad consummated the marriage, and at this time he was 54 years old.
Wow.
So now people are saying, this is your son. And so Muhammad says, no, he is not my son. And therefore he says, Muhammad is not a father of any of your men, min rajulun. But then, because he has a very young wife, one of the Sahabas, his name is Abdullah ibn Talia, he looked at this young woman and he says, when Muhammad dies, I will marry you.
He wants to marry the wife of the prophet after the death of the prophet.
After the death of the prophet. And so to prevent that, and when Muhammad heard about that, he now got revelation from Allah. What does the revelation say? The revelation says that his wives are your mothers, your mother. So think about it this way. Yesterday, Zainab bint Jash was my wife. Today, you wake up and you tell me Zainab is my mother in the spiritual sense.
that
It doesn't, it doesn't
that
really
is very
make sense to
interesting.
me.
That's really very interesting.
Yeah, just try to put yourself in Zaid's shoe. That this is your wife.
Yeah.
Now, according to some other funny edits, it says that that every time he wanted to know her as a wife, Allah would cause his manhood to swell and all that, and so he was really not able to go into her as a man would do to his wife, and all that
Hold on,
kind
bro,
of.
Chaka. Are you telling me that there is an edit narration like that?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. I'm just hearing that for the
Yes,
very
sir.
first time. Truly, bro, Chaka, I'm just hearing this for the very first time. That anytime you want to do the thing you need to do as a man, Allah will just, I can't say this. It's plus 18. All right. So this is interesting.
So
Please.
Tafsir al-Mandul, we actually told that it was this young man that wanted to marry Aisha, and because of that, this verse was revealed. Now, remember the day that Muhammad did the wedding, it was the day that he married Zainab bint Jash, who was actually his first cousin. In other words, Zainab is the granddaughter of Abu Talib, who is the grandfather of Muhammad. And so they are first cousins.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Besides that, now read verse 53, and you can find it on slide number 29.
Okay, so slide number 29, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just get into that now. Okay, all right. So this is slide number 29, and here is what it says. It says, "Oh, you will believe." Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah, you Aladina Amanu, or you
Okay.
who believe.
Oh, you will believe. Enter not the prophet houses until leave is given you for a meal, and then not so early as to wait for its preparation. But when ye are invited, enter, and when ye have taken your meal, disperse without seeking familiar talk. Such behavior annoys the prophet. He is ashamed to discuss you, but God is not ashamed to tell you the truth. And when ye seek, and when ye ask his ladies, that's his wives.
This verse is very long. Let's break it down. Let's break it down before you continue. So it says, "Oh, you believers," and this verse is actually, when you read the tafsir, it says it is exactly on the wedding day.
Wow,
Muhammad has just made a banquet, and people,
that's true.
the people are just there. They want to keep eating, they want to keep talking, and Muhammad wants to go into his business. He has a new wife, and so to dismiss these people, he comes up with the revelation. But as Allah says, "You who believe, do not enter into the prophet's houses, until permission is given you for you, and for a meal,
Yeah.
and do not go there so early."
But
Don't go there.
Bro Chaka, let me break this further. Let me break this down further. This is what is going on. I thank you for bringing this verse of the Quran, one of the most clearest verse for me as a person, that there are some revelations that did not come from Allah. Muhammad was just making them up. All right. Okay, so let me just break it
Yeah.
down. So what the prophet is saying is this: when you are invited to come into the house of the prophet, okay, so let's say you're invited to come to the house of the prophet for a meal by 4 o'clock. let's 4 o'clock p.m. All right, you can't even come a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 o'clock p.m. So if you're invited to come to a meal 4 o'clock p.m., you are not expected to come by 3:59. You're not expected to come by 3:55. No, that is not acceptable. You are not expected to even come,
Don't
by
the preparation of the meal.
exactly. So you're supposed to come as at the time when he called you. Don't come earlier. Why? Because the prophet is usually very ashamed to tell the
He's a
people.
busy man. He's a man married to 13 or 15 wives. He's
Yeah,
busy.
yeah, but aside the prophet being busy, remember the verse we've just quoted now says that the prophet is ashamed. I mean, he's a man of few words. He can't tell people that, hey, you guys should go. I mean, I want to, just like he said, I want to go into my business. You guys should go now. It's such a very shy man. But take a look at what happened, Brother Chaka. This same revelation we're reading today, that is actually in the Quran today. Who did Allah use in revealing this verse of the Quran? I'm asking you that question, Brachaka. Who did Allah use to reveal this verse of the Quran?
It is Muhammad. It's Muhammad speaking.
Are you saying that the same shy person, the person that is shy, that does not have the mind to tell the followers that, followers, you guys should move away from here now. I'm tired. I want you guys to go. I want to have some time to myself. The same person is the one that Allah is actually using to reveal this same revelation. I mean, is this not clear enough to show that this is not really from God? Is this not a clear evidence?
This is a man that wants to dismiss his guest in a manner that will be, good, and he's not seen as if he's being mean, he's being, the African and Arab culture is generosity.
Brachaka, I'm not going to take that from you, because this is the man's house. It's his house, for God's sake. He has it. He has an authority over his own house. It's his house. He has an authority over his house. So
in an honorable way, and so it dismisses them in the name of Allah. In other words, it's not me; it is Allah that is dismissing me.
Okay.
I am very ashamed.
Okay.
I'm man that is reserved, but Allah is not. Is not ashamed to tell you to discuss. And don't just sit here to talk about familiar talk. Such behavior annoys the prophet. The man of God is annoyed, but he can't tell you. In other words, this is a sign of a munafiqun, a person that is hiding in his face. He is saying, be with your wife, but in his heart, he is longing for your wife. In his heart, he's saying, go away. But in his mouth, he's saying, sit around, let my wife prepare you a meal. I have prepared you a meal, just sit. But in his heart, he's hiding the fact that he doesn't want the Muslims being in his house.
Wow.
And so that is exactly what we are seeing here. We are seeing a prophet that is munafiqun. That is a munafiq. That is not revealing his heart.
Exactly.
The words of his mouth are not in line, in tune with the feelings of his heart.
Exactly.
And therefore he's using Allah to say, you know what, I want you people to disperse. And therefore he disperses them. And then look at part P, but the next part of the verse. It says, and when you ask his wives, his ladies, for anything you want, ask them from before a screen. In other words, a screen. That makes greater purity for your
exactly.
their hearts. Nor is it right for you that you should annoy God's apostle, or that you should marry his widows after him at any time. Truly, such a thing is in God's side is an enormity. Can you see that? In other words, don't annoy this man of God. For me, honestly,
yes.
For me, says no.
Exactly.
Can you go to the next slide for me?
Okay.
That should be slide 30.
Yeah. So after this slide, we're going to be taking questions if there are any, so that we can wrap it up from here. So this is the next slide. That's slide 30, and this is where we have the story of Talha, right?
Yeah, and I want you to read it. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so slide 30, and this is what it says. It says, we read the remarkable words of Taha in the Tafsir al-Mazari. It says, Taha said, Muhammad refrained us from marrying our cousins and yet marry our women when we die. After his death, we shall marry his wives after this. The verse descended, you cannot marry the wives of Rasulullah. And according to the authors,
No. Let's stop at that. You see, all the women that Prophet Muhammad had, apart from Aisha, who was the
yeah,
yes, and probably Maria Kiptia, who is actually not a wife according to many scholars. She was Walad, the mother of the son. She was a concubine. Apart from those two, all of them were almost um, widows.
yes, yes.
So he could marry people's widows, but he could not, his jealousy could not allow him to have his wives married
Married.
after he died. Now, can you imagine, by the time Prophet died, Aisha was only 18, and she was condemned to live as a widow for the rest of her life.
Wow, wow,
And
wow,
she lived
wow.
almost up to the age of 60 plus. And she could not marry because Allah had already said she's the Muminuna, she's the mother of the believers. And you
Wow.
know what we read in the Hadiths? It says that, Aisha used to command people to breastfeed, his sister to breastfeed men, and he
Yeah,
could allow
yeah.
them. We could talk about that in
Some
another
other time. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
some other time.
Yeah.
But for me, this is disturbing, my
It
brother.
is. It is. It is disturbing, and this is also very, very irritating as well. I mean, these are stuff that some Muslims will get to see, realize, and they say, "No, this is not my Muhammad." All right, that is
So,
what they say. This is not my Muhammad.
so Suyuti,
Yeah,
Suyuti in
yeah.
Asbabul Nusul, it tells us that Talia was actually the cousin to to this lady, and says he came to the prophet and he says, "I will marry I will marry her when you passed on, you know." And Muhammad says, "You will never do this again." And so she's my cousin, and Allah knows neither I nor she said anything abominable. But Muhammad said, "There's none more jealous than Allah. There is none more jealous than me." He left, and after he said, "On the third of Muhammad, I will surely marry Aisha after him." When
Wow.
Muhammad heard about it, he said, "Neither marry his wives after
After
him."
him. Wow. That's really very interesting. It's interesting, and is is telling as well. So, Bro Chaka, what this is
Yeah.
actually showing is that there are so many revelations in the Quran that are not divine. I mean, for instance, for the life of me, why would a God be interested in revealing a revelation concerning the wives of the prophet? Meaning that if this prophet died, nobody should marry. You see, if as a Muslim, if I'm a Muslim, I'm going to be thinking that yes, the Muslims might want to honor the prophet. They might want to honor him. They might want to give him that regard. They might want to give him the last respect of not wanting to marry his wives. I can understand that. But what I could not understand is, do we need a revelation for that? I mean, do the Muslim really need a revelation for that? Now, in one of my manuscripts, which is yet to be published, the same thing you are saying right there is actually, I never even know that there's this kind of narration existing. What I postulated in the manuscript is that Muhammad had a feeling that after his death, some Muslims or some of his followers might likely marry his wife. But by the time he received a revelation from Allah showing that this is an abomination, this is haram, then nobody will ever want to do that again. Now, what is even more disturbing to me is the situation of Aisha. Aisha who was actually 18. From that point in time, Aisha could not marry even if she desired to, just because there is a revelation that has been received by the Prophet of Islam that nobody should marry the wife of the Prophet. I mean, a young lady, she's just starting her
But
career.
and for me, the disturbing part is because of his jealousy, and the books are very clear. It was because of his jealousy. Now,
Exactly.
the Torah, which the Quran says it came to continue the message of the Torah,
Yeah.
allows a woman to be married after the passing on
Definitely.
of his
Definitely.
husband. And the gospel, the New Testament,
Mm-hmm.
Romans chapter 7, it allows a woman, actually a widow, to be married,
Mm-hmm.
especially a young widow to be married.
Mm-hmm.
But the Quran, because Muhammad is jealous of his wives, and
Mm-hmm.
he has had people talking about this,
Yeah.
so he's forbidding, and now he's actually saying that my wives are your mothers,
Mm.
because therefore you cannot marry your mother,
Mm-hmm.
and something that annoys the prophet. Now, what does this verse do in the present day Quran? Muhammad is not there. His houses are not there. So
Yeah.
what are we really learning from this verse?
Exactly. Exactly. The verse is just there in the Quran. It's not fulfilling any purpose currently.
Yeah, and just before we conclude, Brother Corridor, look
Yeah.
at slide number 36.
Okay. Slide number 36.
Yes, and
Okay.
you can put it on the screen. I'll read it.
Okay.
It says, "O Prophet,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
have made lawful unto you your wives whom you have paid dowries,
Yeah.
and those whom your right hand possesses, of those whom Allah has given you as spoils of war,
Yeah.
and the daughters of your uncle
Mm-hmm.
on your father's side,
Yeah.
and the daughters of your uncle, your aunties on your father's side,
Mm-hmm.
and the daughters of your uncle on your mother's side,
Yeah.
and the daughters of your aunts on your mother's side,
Mm.
who immigrated with you, and any believing woman, if she gives herself unto the prophet, and the prophet desires to
Mm.
ask her in marriage, it
Mm.
is a privilege only for you,
Not for the
not for the
rest
rest
of
of
the
the believers.
believers.
We are aware of which we have enjoyed upon them concerning their wives and
Mm.
those whom their right hand possesses,
Yeah.
that you may be free from blame, for Allah is oft forgiving, oft merciful. So
Wow.
again,
Wow.
I ask, what is he forgiving and what is he merciful about?
Again,
If he has
exactly.
allowed him to marry the daughters of his paternal uncles,
Mm-hmm.
his maternal uncles,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every woman that gives herself over to the prophet and the prophet desires to marry her,
Exactly.
can you
Exactly.
imagine? Can you imagine?
And,
So,
you- and,
so,
you, and
so
you see that statement, that last statement from the verse of the Quran that says that it's a desire, it's a privilege given to the prophet alone, not for the rest of the believers. What it means to
mm,
me, what it means to me is that no Muslim can be like Muhammad. No Muslim can follow Muhammad faithfully. All right. So imagine this.
mhm,
If
mhm,
it's a privilege that is given to the prophet, not for the rest of the believer, we know the prophet is also a believer, right? If a
mhm,
Muslim is saying, "Hey, Muhammad is the best example for mankind. I want to pattern my life according to him," it's not possible because there are some certain things that he was able to do and you are not able to do. Now, I know some Muslims are going to say, "Hey, yeah, but you are also saying that you're a Christian. You want to pattern your life to Jesus Christ." That's the difference. We say Jesus Christ is God. All right.
mhm,
That's the difference. We say Jesus Christ is God. Okay. We are human. Jesus Christ is God. It came in the form of man. Okay, that's understandable. But then you are a Muslim. Muhammad is a human being. You are also a human being. It is not possible for you to live your life according to the pattern of Muhammad. It's just not possible because there's some certain things that it does that you cannot do. It means that it's a case of a leader telling people, do what I tell you, but not exactly what I do. All right? Not exactly what I do. That's actually what is going on right here. That's actually what is going on
mm,
right here. Brochaka, I
mm.
think
Yeah.
right now we might need to call it a day. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so right now I can't see any questions from here. I can't see any questions right from here from Facebook. By the way, there is a question coming from YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to read out the question to you. The
Okay.
person is asking me, but I'm going to redirect the question to you because, of course, I know that since you mentioned something about the Shia, you might have one or two things to say about
Mm.
that.
There's a lot of stories we could actually talk about. I wish we could just ascribe at times, just talk about uh, from Sunni sources,
Yeah,
purely
yeah.
from Bukhari and Muslim. Uh, what we see, the cold blood between Aisha and, say, for example, Fatima is the only daughter of Muhammad that survived him. In other words, all the she died before, before him.
Yeah.
But Aisha died sick. I mean, Fatima died 6 months after his death. And I don't want us to, go off topic.
Okay.
But within those 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
she was not talking to Abu Bakr. She was
Okay.
not talking to Umar bin Khattab until she went to her grave.
Okay.
And there is a reason why she could not to talk to him. When her father died, you remember Muhammad died on a Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They couldn't. They were not even there. They were in the fields of Sakifa, fighting over who will become the leader, and they did not worry about the prophet's body, so
Yeah.
that he actually got buried on a Wednesday.
Mm.
For 3 days, nobody was, talking about his body. You know, I think we can set a time and talk about that. But yes, there's a lot of what she has alleged is actually things that can be proven from Sunni sources. And probably, if you want, I can give you an examples from Buhari and from Muslim,
Yeah.
where we see that there's a narration where Aisha says we forcefully gave him um, some medicine. Now, this medicine is not known whether it was medicine or it was poison, as she has alleged.
Yeah.
Um, but we also see from Buhari and Muslim that Aisha, wherever she gave narration, she could not mention the name of Ali.
Mm. Okay.
She could not mention the name of Ali.
Okay.
And if maybe if you can continue, I'll quickly show you from Suna.com. I can show you
Um.
um,
Actually,
an
actually, I'm not sure we'll be able to continue further to end the program here. So, Brachaka, I want to thank you very much for your time. I want to thank you for your effort. I'm sorry for the itch that happened today. I never knew what happened in between where there wasn't audio coming through, but I can assure you, Brachaka, we're still coming back for part 2 on this issue. It's something we need to discuss. It's something we really, really need to talk about. I mean, we need to take a time out to talk about this. And Lord willing, once we start the program, the Battle of the Art, we are going to invite you virtually to talk about this again. Yes, we're going to invite you
This
virtually.
is actually one of the topics that I
Interested
find
in
very
exact.
interesting, and so it would be an honor to,
Yeah.
even have recording on the same.
Exactly, exactly. So once we start the program, the Battle of the Heart program, we're going to invite you to talk about this. We're going to talk about this very, very clearly. And all the sources that you have, we're going to show them on the screen, just like we did right here. And it will be available for the Muslims because they need to know these things. It is their right for them to know about these things. It's really very important. Okay, so let me just say a quick announcement before we go off the show today. Lord willing, I just want to say this again. Brother Larry, Larry is publishing his book very soon. The title of the book is The Dialogue and Abdul Meet Ibnu. Very interesting book. The book is all about a conversation between a Christian and a Muslim. If you're ministering to the Muslim, you will find this book very, very, very interesting. All right? You find it very interesting. It's going to enrich your knowledge because it talks about the encounter that the Christians has with the Muslims. So it's one book that you want to pick up once it's out. I need to talk about this because I know it's going to be very useful for a whole lot of people right there. Okay. Now, again, I want to say a big thank you to those who have contributed towards the camera. You made this a reality. Now, I'm not going to mention it, but you guys know yourself. Okay. Those people that gave towards this know themselves. Those people that prayed, those people that shared. Thank you very much. God bless you. So we're able to get, the funds needed for this camera. Lord willing, tomorrow, the camera will be gotten, and then Sunday, the next program, I'm going to show you physically the camera, and then we're going to be starting the program very soon, Lord willing. Okay, so I want to appreciate you. God bless you for everyone who contributed towards this, everyone who prayed, who shared. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'm so grateful for that. Also, Lord willing, next week, we're going to be having our brother right here, Brother Benson Sunday. Yes, Brother Benson Sunday is coming for the part 2 of the topic. Is the Quran perfectly preserved? That is the part 2 of the topic. He did part 1 some time ago, so now he's coming back for the part 2, and we're going to be talking about, is the Quran perfectly preserved? We know what the Muslims say concerning this topic of discussion. The Quran have been preserved to the dot, to the letter, and all of those things. We want to see, even in part 1, we see that no, it wasn't like that, but we want to see more information, we want to see more evidences to the contrary. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to equip you as a Christian to be able to engage with a Muslim friend, to be able to understand some of these things, and also engage with a Muslim friends as well. So this is really very important. You don't want to miss that program. Also, Lord willing, on the 27th of September, we're having Samuel Green back again. And this time around, Samuel Green is going to be talking about a very important topic of discussion. And the topic is the destruction of the temple and the Islamic theology. Is that not an interesting topic? The destruction of the temple and the Islamic theology. Very interesting topic of discussion. But note, we're not going to be having this by 1 p.m. Nigerian time. We're going to be having this by 11 a.m. Nigerian time. And it's going to be 8 p.m. the Australian Eastern Standard Time. All right? So it's one program that you don't want to miss. Now, after that, Lord willing, on the 4th of October, we're going to be having a brother from Ghana, Brother Derek Danso. Brother Derek Danso, we're coming from Ghana. We're going to be talking about Muhammad and the origin of Islam. Muhammad and the origin of Islam. That also promises to be interesting. Again, we're going to be having that 1 p.m. Nigerian time, and it's going to be 12 noon Ghanaian time. Okay, so it's a program you don't want to miss. I want to talk about Muhammad and the very root, the origin of Islam. So please, I want to keep it a date. It's going to be an interesting program. Bro Chaka, again, I want to say a very big thank you to you. Folks, just in case if you don't know, when we started this program by 1 p.m. Nigerian time, it was 7 a.m. At Brother Chaka's hand right there. I mean, it was... It's actually a sacrifice, because you could decide to still be sleeping by that point in time, especially if you had a very, very busy day a day before. I mean, you might just want to say, hey, I need to rest, but you still decided to come up. So God bless you, Brother Chaka. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your effort. I pray that the Lord will reward you in Jesus' name. Folks, Brother Chaka is actually on YouTube, so you want to check out his YouTube page. The name of the YouTube channel is Mwalimu. Yeah, Mwalimu Chaka. That's just the name. His name is actually the name he uses as his YouTube channel name. And he has crossed over 20,000 subscribers. Is that not awesome? I mean, 20,000 subscribers. That is not a small work, my friend. It's actually a real work. So please, I want you to head over to his channel, Mwalimu Chaka. Please make sure you subscribe. He's chunking out a lot of stuff, both in English and in Swahili. All right. And the reason why we need this, now, let me just quickly say this. It's not just the English-speaking folks that need to know about some of these things. Our brothers in Africa need to know about this as well. So why Brother Chaka is doing this in Swahili, Brother Folari is doing it in the Yoruba language, and Brother Danso, who is going to be coming up also soon, is doing this in Twi, meaning he's doing it in the language of the Ghanaian people. So we need this to be done in the local language. And it's just because of time. I couldn't say this so much. Brother Chaka started this very early in life. I mean, Brother Chaka started debating literally as a teenager. I will show you, when next they come, I will show you some of his pictures. I will show you some of the pictures of Brother Chaka debating. You will know this is a young man. I mean, he's debating adults. He's debating people that have been doing dawah all over. Okay, so we need God to help us raise men like these people. I mean, and we need God to help us strengthen them as well. So please, folks, pray for them. They need a lot of prayer. They need a lot of support. They need a lot of backing. I mean, you know, when you come into stuff like this, there's going to be challenges here and there. So please, folks, I want you to pray for them. They need your prayer. They need your support. They need your backing as well. So please, you can get to hook him on YouTube. You can also get to hook him on Twitter. So his Twitter handle is at Mwalimu Chaka. Yeah, just the same name. All right. So it makes it easier for you at Mwalimu Chaka. So you can hook him up on Twitter as well. Okay. So you can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, we're social. You can check us out on Facebook. That's our season Apologist. Check us out on Instagram. A lot of people don't know we're on Instagram. Yes, we are right there on Instagram. So you can check us out on Instagram as well. You can check.
Now, if you know that Jesus has been faithful to you, wave your hands. Come on. Yeah. Faithful God, pride of the whole world, Beautiful Savior, that's what you are. Faithful God, pride of the whole world. Beautiful Savior, that's what you are. Faithful God, holy God, righteous God.